Welcome to the Truth About Real Estate Investing show for Canadians, where the show content is decided by you. Sort of. I, Erwin, Szeto of Erwin Real Estate. I'm always out there networking, connecting with real estate investors in our community. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter to keep my finger on the pulse of what investors are interested in and what's going on. Currently, the market has turned. This shouldn't be news. Interest rates have shot up. Credit and capital markets have dried up. For anyone who's out there trying to raise money right now, you know exactly what I'm talking about, both in private mortgages and for capital, for joint partnerships. And now in big news, SVB, Silicon Valley Bank. That's kind of old news now because as I woke up this morning, I read about Credit Suisse Bank is now gone. It's now been consumed by competitor UBS for a lot less than the company's worth. So. Along with that, central banks around the world have promised to provide liquidity, which means they're providing more money out there, going further into debt, which means more inflation. And economic turmoil is great for mortgage rates, as in they're coming down. Last week, actually, the 5-year bond rate in Canada actually reached a 12-month low. So we should start seeing some less expensive mortgage rates. Probably already. We're already seeing the real estate market pick up. The market that I operate in the price range and property types that I operate in. Prices are well past the bottom. And it looks like the bottom was this past August. So congrats to our clients who've been accumulating property from August until now. I wasn't expecting interest rate cuts in the US or in Canada until next year. But based on the current happenings, the bond market has moved up the timing and increased the size of the cuts. So again, that's only good for mortgage rates. So for anyone who doesn't have locked-in mortgages like myself, this is welcome news. Or anyone who has mortgages coming up. I know many of you out there have mortgages coming up, so this is great news for you. Sadly, we're seeing novice investors and coaches not only lose their investments out there, but go bankrupt. It's actually, I found out last week that a pretty sizable newer investor who got started around 5 years ago, who is well known in the community, they recently missed payments on the money they borrowed without any communication. So real estate investing is not supposed to be like this when done right, which is slow and boring and with cash flow. As Warren Buffett quote goes, understand that when I say boring real estate with cash flow, that's right for most people most of the time. There are, of course, obviously exceptional people. We've had many on the show, developers and whatnot, who can operate without much cash flow for many years because they have deep pockets. But yeah, that's not most people most of the time. As Warren Buffett quote goes, when the tide goes out, you realize who's been swimming naked. Unfortunately, there's many gurus out there selling coaching and raising money and selling courses. A lot of them out there selling courses and coaching because they honestly can't raise capital right now. And they're selling courses on how to highly leverage and invest in real estate with very little of your own capital, which is this market's terrible for. And a whole lot of people lost their shirt doing so. That's too much risk for our 350 something clients. FYI, none of my clients have gone bankrupt. Actually, they're thriving. If you understand my investment model and how long we've been doing it for, then you understand that I'm talking about the truth. I think you can appreciate how well our clients are doing. I wonder if the other coaches and gurus out there can say the same. Understand, I've been at this since 2010 coaching clients. If you too want to learn how to invest the right way for most people most of the time, I'm hosting a webinar this Tuesday night. Hopefully you hear this episode. So that's March 21st. No charge on this one, and this is regarding my favorite investment strategy, one of my favorite investment strategies, which is student rentals. If you want to learn the strategy that works, how that allowed my clients to raise their rents 40% over last year's market rents, you will want to tune in. My own rents. Unfortunately, I didn't have complete turnover of my tenants, but my Hamilton property went up 20% over last year. Invites have already gone out in my email newsletter. Many of you have already registered. And if you're not on our email list, that's just silly. I recommend you do the same and share my newsletter with anyone you care about. And you can find it at www.truthaboutrealestateinvesting.ca. Again, that's www.truthaboutrealestateinvesting.ca. Simply type in your name and email address on the right side, and you're good to go. Besides, you may have to check your spam. This Saturday as well, for the first time ever, Cherry and I will be hosting our monthly IWIN meeting in Whitby, Ontario, immediately followed by an income property tour in Oshawa, led by our team member, Coach Steve Phillips of HGTV fame. I will be there as well, providing support and cheerleading along the way. In the meeting, Cherry will be sharing her top tax tips for 2023. And in my humble opinion, this is the most difficult accounting year I can recall in recent history, with all the new changes, with the anti-flipping tax and the underused housing tax. And of course, I've been following the economic story with Silicon Valley Bank's demise, the U.S. Federal Reserve's bailout, the Swiss government bailing out, and then orchestrating a deal for UBS to purchase Credit Suisse Bank. I'll present to you the economic data that shows where interest rates are going. So if you're trying to decide between fixed and variable, you will not want to miss this. On to this week's show. We have Ben Bergen, who has acquired 14 income properties over a short period of time and has the scars to prove it. The metaphorical scars. Ben is a graduate of one of those many. He was paying $13,000 per year for group coaching. Remember, that's group coaching. That's not like an MBA or something, or a formal business program. He spent close to $50,000 over 3 years. And in his words, he grew too fast, too soon. His investment was ego-driven, and that's not uncommon coming out of the group that he was in. I've heard that from many other past students. He nearly lost his shirt when he had between 3 and 4 major renovation projects on the go, as in there's lots of vacancy and lots of money going out the door to pay for renovations. My observation is that if not for Ben's own sweat, hard work on the tools, as he was in the construction industry in the oil refinery construction business, he would have ended up bankrupt. Also because he was investing in Sarnia, the price points are a lot lower, so things are a lot more affordable. So in combination of those things, Ben's sweat equity, his own being on the tools and knowing how to be on the tools, and just a more affordable market, that's likely what saved him. In the business world, Ben filled both the visionary and the integrator role. So, for example, if this business was Apple, he was trying to be both Steve Jobs and Tim Cook / Steve Wozniak. I'm trying to be inclusive here, so I don't offend anyone. As in, Steve Jobs could sell the big dreams and big products, and be the motivator, be the visionary, raise capital. But you needed a Steve Wozniak type to actually build the actual first computers, or Tim Cook, who is was the COO, Chief Operating Officer, now the current CEO. He made operations as smooth as possible to make things efficient, so that product could be manufactured and delivered in a shorter amount of time, bring the costs down. Again, so yeah, Ben was trying to do both things, almost 3 things. In my study of failed real estate investors, they were incredible at raising capital. Their influencer marketing was expert level. They get excellent training in the programs that they're in, but they could not execute on their vision of having on-time renovations on somewhere close to budget, and it's been a challenging environment. So, but it's not like it wasn't always a challenging environment. A lot of these people started in the pandemic, and they knew they were entering a challenging environment, both in construction. And the truth about real estate is that no one's talking about it. There's more folks out there than ever trying to raise capital from both veteran investors and weekend guru workshop graduates. But like I mentioned earlier, a lot of the best people I know at raising capital, they're having massive trouble because passive investors, lenders have dried up with interest rates being so high. Back to Ben. If not for some prudent decisions and his skill set, Ben would have been in huge trouble. Hence, it's best you give this episode a listen, learn from his own challenges, and hopefully make your investment journey a lot smoother. Ben lives and invests in Sarnia. He has a construction background. He has since left his 6-figure job and that pension behind, and he's starting up a property management company with the help of Coach Elizabeth Kelly. And the name of his PM company, you can find it on Instagram, RSB Property Management 2021. All the links are in the show notes, folks. Please enjoy the show. Hi, Ben. What's keeping you busy these days?
Real estate. Yeah, real estate in general. It's been a busy few months for sure. Last 6 months been really busy. Just finishing up renovations, doing refinances, all that fun stuff that we do as real estate investors.
Well, not all real estate investors. You have 14 properties is a mouthful.
Yeah, it's a mouthful. There's a lot going on. There's always something there's always something with every property that you just got to keep. Again, I just always pick away at the things, always prioritize what needs to come first and work on that stuff, right? So that's always just me. I don't allow that stuff to get overwhelming for me, because it is what it is, and you just got to work through it and be calm, stay calm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you seem like a chill guy. And 14 properties, and these are what's the range? Single family, duplex to up as.
Yeah, single family. I got a single family semi-detached, which was actually my first purchase back in 2019. Was a single family semi-detached, and then duplex, triplex. No fourplex, but I do have a fiveplex. That is a 4 residential and one commercial. I'm actually looking into rezoning that commercial space to residential because it's literally only a bedroom size commercial space. Makes no sense for it to be commercial, but because of where it lands inside the zoning area, they require it to be commercial, but I'm gonna hopefully have it rezoned residential and make it part of the main floor unit of that building, and then also apply for a permit to put another unit in the basement. So, again,
cool.
Lots of stuff going on.
How big is the commercial unit? Like 600 square feet? 500?
Oh goodness, no! It's like
100.
Yeah, literally.
And that's a commercial space,
right? And you can't
for like an ice cream store.
There's no bathroom in it. You can't even.
Take out ice cream.
Yeah, right. I guess. I mean, but yeah, it was one of those.
Scoop
things.
it. Here you go. Go wash them somewhere else.
Yeah, it's just like throw it out the window. I guess. I don't know.
That tiny.
Yeah, it's just a tiny, but because where it lies in the zoning of that street.
Interesting.
They want the front-facing window of that building to be commercial. So, it is just silly, and that's why again, we have to bring it to council and talk to them and be like, hey, listen, this doesn't make any sense. Come on. Yeah.
I get what the city's trying to do. They want a business there that generates income. They can probably charge more taxes and all sorts of things. All those wonderful things. Right. Sorry, I have to ask. How did you finance the fiveplex with the commercial being mixed use?
That was with a B lender. With a B lender.
Tough. Okay.
Yeah.
It still made sense, even though you had to go B lender rates.
Yeah. The purchase price was quite low. I think I bought that place for $380,000 in 2020. I think the last
before pre-pandemic or post-pandemic.
That would have been during right around. It was at the end of 2020.
Oh, okay. So you probably got a deal.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, 380. Yeah,
okay.
380 was. And then I think the last time it refied it reappraised for over 6, with barely doing anything to it. So again, the market was on my side at that time.
Good for you. You got greedy when those were fearful.
Yeah. I've been like that. I've always, Warren Buffett always says, buy when people are scared, right? So people were a little scared at that time, and I was just ignoring all the noise and just wanted to focus on me and stay in my lane, do my thing, and it's worked out.
Good for you.
So
good for you. All right, where should we start? Oh, so I always ask this, not always. So why are you investing in real estate? Because before we're recording, you mentioned you had sounded like a nice paying job, pension, benefits, everything.
Yeah, it seems to be the same story with a lot of investors, right? They sort of they think, and for me personally, I thought I was doing everything I was told to do. For one, go get it. I went and got a trade. I went and got a job paying. I think I was making $50 an hour at the time. Pension, good benefits.
Just I have to ask, the $50 has probably gone up
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's gone up since. I think it's, yeah, I'm not even sure where it's at right now. It did go up with inflation, and I don't even know where the rates are at right now in regards to, I think it's probably around 55. So, again,
10%.
yeah.
10% inflation, not bad.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's just sort of, and then
You're living the dream.
I was, I mean, I convinced myself I was living the dream, and then just consistently noticed like myself always questioning everything and asking, like one day one day I had a couple of wrenches in my hand, I'm working on this piece of equipment, and I'm like, is this it? Like, is this really it for me? Like, is this what I'm going to be doing? Like, I was coming up to 40 years old at the time, and I'm like, this can't be it. There's got to be something more out there for me than this. And even before that, like I've always said, if I find one thing that that I really think I can be good at, I'm going to go all in on it. So I think it was leading up to Christmas of 2018, my wife told me that I should start reading books, and I said,
Sorry, you weren't reading before?
oh goodness, no. I was a construction worker. I would go home. I was not the type of construction worker to go home and drink beer all night. Like a lot of them do. I was never that one, but I always just kept myself busy with little projects around the house and stuff like that. But she goes, you should start reading books. And I'm like, well, what am I going to read books about? Like I don't read fantasy books and this kind of book, and it's got to be some sort of a book of value. And so one day I'm scrolling through Instagram, and boom, this ad comes up for a bunch of financial self-help books. And there was this book right front row, said purple with the yellow lettering. I'm sure you can know what book it is. And said Rich Dad Poor Dad on the front of it.
And that caught your attention.
And that caught my attention. I had no idea what this book was even about. I just knew that I was
Okay, you're probably the first ever heard that learned the book from an ad. Almost everyone else was given the book.
No, never. I literally, I stumbled into real estate. I literally stumbled into it.
Oh. And people have all this hate for social media. Here it is, making you a bunch of money.
Right? It's just like, and yeah, so I read the title, and I'm like, wow, what is that all about? And literally, yeah, I just said, okay, you want to get me a book for Christmas? You want me to start reading books? Get me that book there. Again, no idea what it was about. Hadn't even heard of Robert Kiyosaki, nothing. And I was just living that, blinders. Yeah, I just had the blinders on and really wasn't focused on anything else but just going to work and making that paycheck. And then after that, I read David Chilton's book, The Wealthy Barber, and then after that
book.
Yeah, that he's a local to Sarnia as well, which is really cool. And then I read the Rich Dad Poor Dad Quadrant, and I got hooked into this. And then I found out that I think it was Legacy Education was Robert Kiyosaki's education program.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, they previously had the rights to call it Rich Dad.
Yeah. So and they were coming to Sarnia, had a little weekend conference going on, so I was signed up for that, and then it was just sort of from there. It was just like, wow, everything just sort of started happening really, really fast. And I sort of knew that at that time, this was it. Like I said, I was always waiting for that one thing to enter my life, and I was going to go all in on, and that ended up being real estate. And so that's where I went all in, and that's where I'm at now.
Are you still friends with anyone in the Legacy?
No, I never. It was only a one weekend conference.
Oh, okay.
It was only a 1 weekend conference. I didn't get signed up with them further than that. It was just, like I said, then I started looking around and sourcing out other ways of educating myself on real estate, because it was very expensive at the time. It still is. It's very expensive. And it was at that point I was still getting, like, I had paid $250 to be there for that week. I think it was $500 to be there for that weekend.
That's cheap, yeah.
Right, and I'm just like, handing them the money, and I'm just like, man, this is a lot of money, and so it was. So then when they threw the other prices in my face, I'm like, nope, I can't do this. So I'd be divorced tomorrow if I said yes today.
So what was your next step then?
From that point there, it was looking at ways of getting myself more educated in real estate investing. So that's when we started sourcing out coaches. There's coaching going, people coaching programs or people coaching real estate out there. And I was able to source out a coach, and that's really what got me going in the real estate business.
Mm-hmm.
Once I got that coach under my belt, and helped me really learn the ropes of real estate investing.
Mm-hmm. Can you share how much that cost?
The first year, I believe it was around $13,000 for the year.
Okay. Rain or Rockstar never crossed your radar?
They did. They did early on, but it was just, again, I should even back up further. I was a very shy, timid person before.
Oh.
I was very shy, very timid. I wanted to stay in my bubble all the time. I was introverted, definitely an introvert that I'm definitely introverted by nature. And so when I was sourcing out this info, I was always just sourcing out the easiest, because had I looked at something like that, it would just been way too overwhelming for me.
Right.
So stuff like that now excites me, because I love getting around those people doing massive things, right? Massive deals, massive projects. I was at Wealth Hacker in the VIP lounge, getting around those people, seeing what they're and hearing what they're doing. And I'm like, wow, I sort of can't believe I'm in this space right now, to be honest, because it was very cool to be around those people and inspiring for sure.
Very cool. Very cool. For the listeners' benefit, if you need a referral for where to get started, I'm happy to give one. And it won't cost you $13,000 a year.
Okay.
Just for context, again, it's a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
But when I joined Rain, it was $200 a month plus tax.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right, and that was when Don owned it. It was wonderful education.
Okay.
Right, so it was again $200 a month versus.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So $2,400 a year plus tax.
Right. Yeah. Definitely a better deal.
I'm cheap, so same with you. Like my wife would not accept.
Yeah, no, it's and that's one thing that's one thing I've learned. I've learned to be more okay, like this sounds good, but is it the best possible deal I could possibly? Is there something else better for a better price? And there always is. There's always something better out there for a better price. Mm-hmm. It's just you got to find it. You got to be willing to look for it, right?
Right.
It's like anything.
Because for context, for $13,000 a year, I could probably find a coach to coach me one-on-one.
Yeah.
Like one of the best coaches versus having to pay for a program, be part of a program, and be a part of a group and whatnot,
mm-hmm.
with way less attention.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about any coach. I'm talking about like one of the top 5 in the country.
Right. So, yeah, we'll talk.
I can naturally comparison shop. No different than you said. I'm not paying this when you at the course.
Yeah.
I'm not like that. No different when I was at a timeshare. Like the story I've given is, I went to one of those timeshare dog and ponies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You've been.
Yeah.
Free lunch, and I forget what else they included. But yeah, when they pitched pretty hard, I was like, we agreed we're not going to buy anything today.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as we walked out, look at my phone, go on Kijiji, and I can find the exact same timeshare for like 15 cents on the dollar.
Right.
Because there's people that no longer want them. They're like 70s, 80s, or they've been injured, and then it doesn't make financial sense for them anymore to own that timeshare.
Right.
So just waiting 5 minutes.
Yeah.
If I really wanted it, I could have saved 85%.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of comparison shopping.
Yeah.
It's never been easier.
Yeah, and then that's when it comes down. You got to compare shop. You got to compare, because there's always, like you said, there's always a better deal out there if you just got to look for it. And
right.
And then my attitude used to be always just like whatever's easiest, go with it,
mm-hmm.
right? And that can be very expensive. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very expensive.
Yeah.
Very expensive, or it's not optimized. It's just not my nature. Right? I'm like kind of a fanatic to try to optimize everything, including like how can I get literally how do I get from A to B faster?
Yeah.
Driving wise, map wise. I always like to optimize everything. It's just my nature.
Yeah. And that's a great way to be. It's a great way to be because I feel like I could probably learn something from optimization and really making sure that you're doing the best thing possible all the time, right? Yeah.
Well, why not?
Yeah, exactly. It's fun. It's probably fun.
It's fun to me. It's fun to me. Like if I can save some time, or if I can save like 5 minutes in like a 60-minute drive, that makes me happy.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just weird that way.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's just a guy thing.
I went. So we before we're recording, we discussed who you were coaching with back in, this was like 2019 that you said.
Yeah.
When you were paying $13,000 a year. So to protect the innocent, innocent until proven guilty, whatnot. We're not going to mention names. What was that experience like, though? What was that program like?
It was good when I felt it was good when it started. It's just I think as it grew, there just became more and more. It just got a little bit too noisy per se. I think just noisy. There was a lot of information that was being thrown out to me that wasn't really pertaining to what I was trying to achieve in my business.
Mm-hmm.
Just because when it gets to be so big, you have to appeal to the masses, right? So that a lot of the information, is generalized, is general information, so everybody can, so at least it's touching some people in the group, right?
Yeah. Or they're covering multiple topics.
Yeah. So I mean, and for me, like I was at that point there. It was just sort of like, okay, like it seemed to be a lot of the information. Then what that also was getting, a lot of the information was getting repeated over and over again. It was just the same information over and over again, and so it's just like, okay, that's at that point there it was. Okay, now I think it's just like this. It's just time to go and expand my wings and get myself in different rooms, bigger rooms around different bigger people doing massive things that things that I want to do, like the bigger commercial multis, and also then land developments and whatnot. So
excellent. So you were at this group for 3 years, I think you mentioned?
3 years, yeah.
That was a long time, dude.
Yeah, it was a long time. I met a lot of really good people. There's a lot of really the network was just fantastic. The people were awesome. That part of it was really good. I made a lot of really good friends and lifelong friends in the industry. They're very, very helpful people that want to lift you up and guide you, help in your problems and your troubles. It was really nice to be around those people, getting into the industry. Like I said, I was very shy and a nervous person, and these people just sort of bring out the best in you, right? So that was a fantastic part about being in that community for sure.
So one thing consistent, like I poo-poo on a lot of these organizations, but one thing consistent across all of them I find is that generally their people are nice.
Yeah.
Which is like my experience at Rain, my experience at Rockstar, people are just generally very nice.
Yeah.
Of course, you're always going to have the bad seeds, and then again, like even people that want to take advantage of you are going to have to be nice. Yeah, and that's one thing that I've learned for myself is like you got to watch what. Even just recently, like I've made a deal that I look back at now and I'm like, was my interest really their main focus, right? Was this really a deal I should have said yes to? I'm looking back at it now and I'm thinking probably not, based on the way the whole transaction happened. And I just read something the other day. If it's easy, no questions asked, it's a good to go. But if there's all this confusion and you're wondering what's going on and why this is happening, why that's happening, and all these questions are popping up, just drop it and move on. Like just really make sure that if it's easy, it's meant to be. If it's hard, keep going. Like, I mean, then I feel like if you're pushing it to make it work or make it happen or whatever, you got to walk. You just, cut your loss. And at that point, you haven't lost anything because you haven't signed any paperwork. But yeah, just make sure that as a new real estate investor, and that's the one thing that a lot of newer ones, they get excited about a deal. When they get a deal that's in their hands, right? They get really excited about wanting to make this thing happen and make it work. And then they, again, put the blinders on against and don't really see the big picture of what's actually happening. And I think that's where
a big lesson for me was, pay attention to what the people are saying to get the deal done. Like, are they just saying things to make it sound good, or is it legitimate? Like, is it a legitimate comment, or are they legitimately trying to make a good deal for you? And that's one thing I've learned, recently. Just so next deal I buy, whenever that might be, if it doesn't make sense right from day one, it's a no. Then that should just be a given. That should really just be a given.
Right. I think in general we should all be saying no more often than yes.
Yes, because I think as a newer investor, you always just hope for the best. When you get into these, you hope for the best. Mm-hmm. Yes, there is potential, and of course there's potential in everything, but you got to make sure that you are dotting your I's and crossing your T's, and really
mm-hmm.
making sure, like, don't be scared to buy, but just make sure you're buying right.
All right. So are you speaking from like something you bought, like a product or coaching or an investment?
It was an investment. It was an investment, yeah.
So it was a piece of real estate?
Yeah, a piece of real estate that I had bought that, it was very confusing. There was a lot of noise, a lot of questions, a lot of things going on, and you're just like...
What was you bought? Was it wholesale, private?
It was a wholesale deal.
Okay.
It was a wholesale deal that I was buying, yeah.
What kind of questions did you have?
Well, it was just sort of like, well, first of all, like, you said there was going to be a vacant unit, and there's no vacant unit. You said that this person was leaving, and they're not leaving now. There was just, and then also.
So you didn't close then, right?
I reluctantly did, yes, and I guess yeah. And you're shaking your head. I get it. I know it was one of those. Again, it was one of those, and this is a lesson I learned. I chalked it up as a lesson. And that's the way I look at all these mistakes I make. It's just,
right.
They're lessons to make me a better real estate investor in the future. I'm still
right.
I've only been doing this for 3 years. I don't claim to know it all, and I never will know it all, because
right.
there's just so much to know. But yeah, when it comes to, and that, like, for me, that was a big part of personal growth. For me, it was like, I was always a very passive person, and thinking that everyone's out there to make it good for everybody.
No.
Nope, it's not, right? It's not the case at all. You just got to really make sure you're looking out for number one, which is yourself, when
mm-hmm.
When you're getting your real estate, and yeah. So and again, it's just, I learned it too late. But I mean, it is what it is, and I'll chalk it up as a lesson. I have felt the pain, which now just, I'll never want to feel that pain again, so I'll avoid those mistakes in the future.
We were helping a client buy a house, and it was tenanted, and for everyone knows who signed an agreement before, standard language is vacant possession.
Yeah.
Right. So we didn't have to say anything, addition on top of anything, right? These are regular conditions, whatnot. Went firm on the deal. As one of my team members, so he reminded the selling agent, hey, don't forget, we need vacant possession back before closing. And then the selling agent's like, okay, here's the forms to say you're moving in. Like, but not like, oh no, we're an investor. We're not moving in. We're not signing those. So the listing agent screwed up, and we're not closing.
Yeah.
Right. We're not assuming your tenant. Like, that's what they wanted. Right. They want, oh, just sign it anyways. Like, no, we're not doing that. We're not breaking the law.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's breaking the law, but whatever. We're not signing that.
It's being shady.
We're not being shady.
Yeah.
Like, we're not doing that. And then they offered us compensation. I think they offered us like $10,000. We said no.
Yeah.
Because the market, I think the rent was really low.
Yeah.
Like, that's not enough.
No.
That's like covers us for like 8 months maybe. So we're just pushing out the problem 8 months.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
we want vacant possession. That's what we agreed to.
Yeah.
Right. And so eventually we had to walk away from the deal. But yeah, we weren't closing on that.
Yeah, and and then that's a beautiful, that's what I wish I would have done.
Yeah.
I would have been like, there's just too many red flags popping up.
Yeah. Because if they couldn't deliver vacancy, how are you supposed to deliver vacancy?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
you're the stranger.
Again, you're listening to what the people are saying, and the people are saying, just pay the person $4,000, they'll leave.
Who's saying
the
that?
seller?
The seller?
The wholesaler. Just pay them $4,000. They'll leave. Oh, okay. I mean, you've already had the conversation with the person. Yeah, they'll leave. Don't worry about it. Oh,
my
okay.
God. Seriously. Oh, Ben.
I know it's embarrassing. Again, it's the humility. It's the lessons I want people to learn. I'm glad to take the brunt of the mistakes here, just so
Right.
other people moving forward can learn from me and be like, you know what, Ben Bergen did that, and he said not to, so don't do it.
Right.
And
Because we negotiate these things before we get a deal, before we
Yeah.
get a deal together.
yeah, and then moving forward, it's like, yeah, that's it. Vacant possession or nothing. That's, because if it's a burr you're looking to do on that property, then it only makes sense to get a vacant.
Oh, boy. Yeah, I don't. Yeah. So I should bring it up. Before we were recording, we were talking about wholesale, for example, and I think as soon as it's wholesale, private deal, whatever, I think it needs double the due diligence of what a regular deal would need.
Yeah,
Just as a general rule of thumb.
yeah,
Right. So there's like no way I'm not inspecting.
yeah,
Right. Or I've been around the block a few times, so I've bought properties without inspecting. But again, I'm different. I can afford stuff. And also I'll still have it inspected so that I have my laundry list of things to do for my general contractor.
yeah.
Right.
And it just creates a good list of ammunition going into the negotiation, right? Like, well, you said it was this, and now I found
Yeah.
this, right?
Yeah.
So it's.
Oh no, I'm saying after we're firm still.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I might have left again. I've been around the block long enough to know what stuff costs.
Yeah.
Right. And I know what I can't see,
Mhm.
and so I can accommodate for that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then even still, if like for example, I had a boiler go. The boiler went a year before I expected it to go, but at least I planned for it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I just. had a-
Wholesale's not for the. If you're gonna do it as a newbie, you better have help
Yeah.
and deep pockets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, I just had a furnace go last. I think I just replaced it yesterday in another place. Yeah. It was just one of those things. It happens, and you just gotta be able to be resourceful and get it fixed and make it right.
Yeah, so I said do double due diligence. I think double the buyer beware.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, 100%. Yeah. You gotta, definitely gotta. The buyers definitely gotta watch for sure.
A friend of mine bought off a wholesaler property that was a grow up, and they didn't disclose it.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
because wouldn't that, and doesn't something like that end up being attached to title?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I remember looking at a place in London that had been a grow up, and it was disclosed, but it also got sold for a really good
Yeah.
deal.
Right. So that's fair play.
Yeah.
Right.
It got sold for a really good deal, and because the buyer ended up then has to do all the work to, get that taken off the title by, having the proper assessments done on the property and correcting anything that does come up.
Yeah. So it's all inspected. So that's
Yeah.
fair play.
Yeah.
So that probably got a good deal.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, my friend didn't.
Yeah. Right. Yes.
Because the wholesalers are not regulated.
Yeah.
There's no recourse.
Yeah. And I think, and even beyond that, it's just like, there's a lot of illegal properties, a lot of legal units in and around everywhere, right? So I mean, go to the. That's one thing I've learned is go to another pain point. Go to the city, ask them, what do you have this building registered as?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I've only got it registered as a single family unit or property. I'm like, oh, okay. Why'd you got 3 in it? Right?
This will be tricky for financing.
Yeah. So then at that point, then you can go back to the buyer and be like, hey, listen.
The seller. Yeah.
Yeah, or the seller, sorry. And being like, yeah, sorry. I would love to buy this as a triplex, but unfortunately the city only has it registered as a single family. It's not going to work unless you sell it to me for, another $150,000 off because, and get, of course, again, vacant possession again, because I'm going to have to do a whole laundry list of improvements to this property to make it legal. And yeah, again, another lesson I learned, in my short time as a real estate investor.
Or the seller has to produce the documents to prove it's a legal triplex.
Yeah.
And even then, I'm still not trusting them.
Well, that's why you just go right to City Hall, find out, get it right from the horse's mouth. Just get it. Yeah, no, it's been registered as a duplex or a triplex or whatever. So then that's why buying moving forward, buying purpose-built stuff, is obviously something that's much easier to navigate as well, right? But still, even that at that point, I would still call the city and ask what because I mean, they might have slipped an illegal unit in there somewhere that shouldn't have been there. Or it's not registered, right?
If something looks out of the order, it could be out of the order.
Yeah.
It's a bit of the wild, wild west in real estate.
Yeah.
Especially in smaller towns when, people can do things and inspectors don't catch on.
Right.
What were your other lessons from 3 years of coaching? And this is before Elizabeth Kelly. Did we mention Elizabeth Kelly?
No,
yet?
not yet.
Okay, we'll get to Elizabeth Kelly.
Oh, okay.
All right. So just so we're clear, we're not talking about Elizabeth Kelly. We're talking about pre-Elizabeth Kelly.
Yeah.
Because I think it matters. Kind of like what we said. It's kind of expensive.
Yeah, the coaching is expensive. It's definitely expensive for sure, right? And maybe one of the lessons I've learned is not every real estate investing is a lot about relationships because everything's about relationships. It's all relationship building constantly.
Because you wouldn't be here right now without.
Yeah, right. And that's why I'm sitting in this chair. And further, this, and the same thing goes for when you're working with a coach. It's a relationship. It's really it's a very important relationship because the information you're being taught by this person. A lot, and this information that you're getting is either it's meant to benefit you, to make you a millionaire, because that's why we get into real estate, is to create wealth for us, right? And so and the one thing I really do want to press for the newer people listening is when you're sourcing a coach for real estate investing, you really want to vet the coach themselves, make sure that they know what they're talking about, know what they're doing. Obviously, that's very important, right? Because you want to make sure that these people have years in the industry, not just a few years, because you want to make sure that they have weathered storms, very much like the storm we're weathering today. How did they weather that storm? How did they get through that? Another question is have you ever lost money on a job or on a deal? Because there's a lot of questions you need to ask these people, and if hopefully they disclose that information to you, because I mean it's stuff that helps you build that relationship, the credibility with that person, right? And so I think and if you get into a coaching situation, a coaching scenario where you maybe aren't jiving with the coach, you are almost better to be this isn't what I thought it was going to be. I really wish, I thought it was going to be something else. Cut your losses at that time and move on to maybe sourcing out somebody that maybe works with you better, jives with you better. Because I just feel like I maybe hung on to that relationship a little bit too long. I was in it for 3 years. After 2 years, I feel like that would have been enough. Because after once I got into the third year, the information was continued to be the same. It was the same information, right? So that's when.
But you were paying $13,000 a year.
Well, I mean, the prices went up every year.
Oh, good.
Yeah, good.
What was the second and third year?
I couldn't even. I don't even remember. It was enough though. Yeah.
So you spent around $50,000 in coaching? 3 years?
Yep.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But I don't even think I'm allowed to share what I pay for coaching.
So like I said, there's good options out there for people looking to get into the industry. There's really good options out there, right? But I like how you do it. You were always resourceful when it comes to that stuff, and it sounds like you are able to source out some really high end coaching for really good pricing. So that's, again, we're gonna have to talk afterwards.
Sure. It's just most coaches want my attention, right? So then naturally I have to reference check. So it's not hard.
Yeah.
Right or wrong, I've said it before on the show, I judge the coaches based on the students' performances.
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, and again, I have friends who've been, you know, I have friends who are dynamos.
Yeah.
Like the Susan Whites, the Ryan Carrs, you know, I'm friends with Quentin D'Souza, you know, I'm friends with many of his past students. You know, shout out Julie Broad, who's retired as a coach. Like she had some dynamo students, right? So again, I just been around long enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just have those relationships that, you know, that I can reach out to almost anybody, and they'll usually take my call.
Right.
And I'll ask for a reference check on this person.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice.
And also when I reference check, I don't just take what they give me. With social media and internet, it's so easy.
Yeah.
I'll scroll for a while. And again, just because I've been around long enough, I'll reference check people, their past students, ones they didn't give me. I'll reference check who the general contractor is, their property manager, anyone who's done business with them in terms of, say, for example, like a JV or a business partner, right? Then you find out a lot of information on people.
Yeah.
And then having done all these reference checks, I can tell who's not reference checking.
Gotcha.
Ben.
Yeah. Sorry.
I tease you. There probably wasn't much data at that point.
Yeah.
But that actually to me is actually a red flag.
Yeah.
Not a red flag necessarily. Just because someone has like a handful of bad students, I don't necessarily think they're a bad coach. It's just there's all these coaches who don't have any red flags.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Who have like no blemishes on their record.
Right.
So then why wouldn't I just go there?
Right.
I'll start there. I'll start my search there.
Yeah.
Right. And then even still, I may ask them, who is your coach?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I may go above them.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, because every coach should have a coach, I feel, anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I may even ask them again, like that person, who is your coach?
Yeah.
And I'll see who fits my budget.
Is there a top coach out there that's like the coach of all coaches?
Here's the sad thing, is it works both ways. There's coaches who are responsible for lots of successful people. There are coaches who are at the top who are responsible for a lot of failed investors. And before we're recording, like, real estate is a pretty safe way to make money.
Yeah.
But it can be done wrong.
It can be done, it can be done wrong. And that's where real estate becomes risky.
Yeah.
When you do it wrong. And you know,
I'll argue a lot of it's avoidable.
and it is avoidable. Yeah. That's 100% avoidable.
Yeah. I'll even say, like, I never trust other realtors, let alone wholesalers.
Yeah.
You know, fine, you give me a piece of information, I'm going to check it.
Yeah.
Right. Say you provide me proof that your triplex is a triplex, I'm still going to have it verified.
Yeah.
Like, just like you said, I'll provide to the city.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Is this what you got? And literally one time it came back like, my name is on this document. I did not sign this. Yeah. My signature is on this document. It was not me that signed it. This is a fake.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Wow.
So that's the truth of real estate investing.
Yeah.
And that person's an influencer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's the truth about real estate investing. Trust no one. Right? Don't even trust me.
I guess
I don't trust me, so no one should trust me.
Okay. That's going to be my big takeaway. Trust no one.
Trust no one. Just trust people. Like, you know, Elizabeth said nice things about you. I'll trust her, right? But then, you know, as soon as say we decide to do business together, I need to do another level of due diligence, right? Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's and that's the way I try to be. When I say yes to something, it's a genuine yes. It's not a hollow yes, and I don't say yes and hope that it works out. It's a yes because I know I can make it work, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the way I just figured it was going to be with everybody, right? Mm-hmm. Like it was just. And like I think you were saying that, you know, there was a deal that went, you know, that the person said yes to the deal and they never weren't able to close on it. You know, I feel just like if I say yes to something, it's going to be a real yes, mm-hmm. and that's just the way I want to operate, and that's the way I like to operate.
Right. I think you're in the minority. Apologies, Ben.
But it's just like, I just feel that's the way it should be in life. It's just like...
That's the way it should be now. Before we were recording, we were talking about someone that you met at the coaching program, pre-Elizabeth, who became a coach, right? And this gentleman's now bankrupt. We're not naming names, obviously. You know, innocent until proven guilty. I've heard from multiple sources it sounds pretty bad. But yeah, you witnessed this person. Like, I don't know. My first question was, did you think they were qualified to coach?
So for myself personally, like coming up as a tradesperson, you start off as an apprentice, right? You start off year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, right? So that's where I always looked at real estate investing as well. There's so much stuff to learn in real estate investing that I honestly think that some people that are coaching need to have at least 7 years under their belt, had to have weathered a storm.
Full time.
Yeah, full time. So sometimes, like I feel like sometimes there are people out there that are coaching that maybe aren't as qualified as they should be, because they just don't have the time. They don't have the experience under their belt. They haven't weathered the storms, and all that. Like, I think there's just so much people need to learn, and like I will never claim to know everything, and because I'm very, very careful about what I tell people when they come to me for advice, right? I had a young guy reach out to me last week, asked me, he says, Ben, I'm looking at getting some coaching done. I'm like, that's fantastic. What do you suggest? I said, well, source somebody out that's going to help you build the foundation first, the boring stuff, the stuff that nobody ever talks about. Because if you want to operate this real estate investing business as a business, it's like any business. You need a foundation under it. And I think that's where a lot of people start out, is they start out without that proper foundation underneath their business. That's how I started mine out. There was no basement underneath it, no foundation, right? So I always use the term, like, it's like a house with a bad foundation. What do? You lift up the house, you rebuild the foundation, and then you put the house back down. That's essentially where a lot of people. That's where I'm at right now with my stuff. Right, I'm slowing down. I'm slowing down, working out the kinks. Getting to know my numbers a lot better. In my business, I was never a numbers person before, which is obviously a problem in real estate investing, because you need to know your numbers all the time, right? And that's something that Elizabeth has helped me out with greatly, like a lot. Putting together these proper spreadsheets and being able to really dive in and understand the numbers in my properties. I didn't know them before. And it turns out that there's not a lot of people that do, which, I felt like I was the only one. Thank goodness I'm not. But I'm always working towards making myself better, right? So, but yeah, there are people out there that are coaching that I feel like I would, again, question. Like, I've had people like reach out to me and been like, oh, what do you think about that person coaching? They've got less experience than you do. I'm like,
because they were students at the same time you were a student.
Yeah, it's just like, right. It is what it is. If
that's capitalism.
Yeah, right. If they feel like they're qualified to coach a person, then let them have it, right? So, but yeah, it's like, you got, like I said, I'm always very careful about the information I give to people, because that information that I'm giving out is, it could hurt that person if it's not the right information, right? And that's what scares me about, again, giving information out to people that are asking me for questions about real estate and mentoring and stuff like that. So.
So I'm not saying paying everyone, all the students at the same organization you were at, with growing too fast, too much, too soon. I see a lot of it, and they're not the only ones. I know other organizations. I can think of 3 off the top of my head where I've seen a lot of too fast, too soon, didn't work out.
Yeah.
A lot of people bankrupt. People who quit their jobs, took OPM, other people's money. Now that money's gone.
Yeah.
Now they go back to their day jobs.
Yeah.
Move back in with the parents.
Yeah.
That's true. Real estate.
Yeah,
investing.
it's
oh god, that sounds fake.
Yeah, and as we all know, like 2019, 20, 21, 22, you couldn't do anything wrong, right? Yeah. And it actually goes back to almost when I first started as a pipe fitter. There was all this abundant work, and all this, you know, there was lots of overtime and lots of people were making all sorts of money. And the older people, the guys that have weathered many storms, kept telling the younger crowd, don't spend your money, save it. You know, don't just go out and blow all your money. You need to build a nest egg.
Sorry, where you were working was tied to oil and gas.
Yes, yeah.
In Ontario, in Sarnia. Yeah. For the listeners' benefit, if you don't know, Sarnia has a pretty large oil refinery.
Yeah.
Is it just one? Is it Suncor?
No, there's multiple.
Multiple.
There's Suncor, Esso, Shell.
So they're that's probably the biggest employer.
Oh yeah, it's really the meat and potatoes of Sarnia.
Right.
That's really what keeps Sarnia together is that oil industry, right? So.
And you're saying the older guard was telling the young bucks, you know.
Yeah, you know,
save some for a rainy day.
Save some for a rainy day.
There will be rainy days.
There will be rainy days, and you know, I think that's almost what happened in the real estate business is nobody was really looking at the potential for a rainy day, and I think that's where. And then all of a sudden, as the tide went out, you got to see everybody that wasn't wearing a bathing suit, and that's what's happened.
Mm-hmm. So just to clarify, because I actually had someone reach out the other day asking, what is over leveraged, right? So I don't think it's discussed enough.
Right.
So I think for most people, most of the time, to have more than one vacant property could be over leveraged. I don't know everyone's income situation, right? But for most people, most of the time, you have multiple vacancies, then that's probably a lot of financial stress.
Yeah.
Especially, like for example, if you have 4 properties, say they're all private money, for example, because you're mid-BRRRR, mid-flip, whatever, you have no money coming in.
Right.
That's a lot of financial stress.
Yeah.
Right. For most people, most of the time. So it's a different thing for most people, but generally that's where I've seen people come into major financial difficulty and leading to bankruptcy.
Right.
Right. At least you avoided that.
Yeah, definitely, right. So,
but what led you to too fast, too soon?
Just what led me to that point. I think a lot of it maybe was, you know, again, being vulnerable here, just ego-driven decisions. I think just again, thinking that I could do no wrong, right? That's again, that's sort of where the industry was going in the last few years. Is like people, you couldn't do anything wrong, and that's sort of where things ended up. You know, again, it's actually it's one of those things I learned about very early on in real estate investing. Is I remember hearing somebody say it on social media: "Don't grow too fast." You know, and I think honestly, like when a person gets into real estate investing, once they get to their 3rd property, they should really stop and assess where they're at with everything about their business. Like really just stop and assess. Because I mean, at that point there, you've got maybe 6 to 10 doors, you know, really stop and digest where you're at and really see where your business is at. And really start, you know, see where your foundation's at. Do you have a proper foundation to continue to scale? Because you don't want to keep scaling if you don't have that proper foundation. So really stop and assess, make sure that the 3 properties you do have are running as good as they can be. And then before you continue to scale, and then continue to only scale like at the most 3 properties a year. Like that's 1 every 4 months based on the time of renovations and refinances and all that stuff. Like everything really, you know, you're probably even safer at 2 a year. Give yourself that 6-month runway for each project.
Right. I'd even go as far as saying if you're a novice, finish a project before you get your next one.
Yeah, and that's even better. And
so at least have it tenanted.
Yeah.
As in rent is coming in.
Yeah.
Right. Like I think that'd be conservative.
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable. Before you take on your next project.
Yeah, I think it's
you avoid having 2 vacancies that way.
Yeah, it's just we ended up trying to do too much too fast, and you know, again, the deals were flowing. There was all sorts of things happening. You get caught up in the excitement of it all, and and then you sort of end up looking back and you're like, oh, okay, now it's like, okay, now we got some.
So it was exciting. When did you start feeling pain?
It's been probably since the last 6 months or so, right? I mean, the good thing for me, and I don't know why I did this. When everyone else was saying putting their mortgages on variable rate mortgages, I was going fixed. I put like large majority of my properties are on fixed rate mortgages. Why I chose fixed rate, I have no idea.
That probably saved your bacon.
Yeah, it definitely did. It definitely did save it because it was everything. That honestly, it's not going variable rate when everyone else was saved me for sure.
Yeah. And granted, no one predicted the Bank of Canada
No.
would be this aggressive this quickly.
No.
Right.
No, I mean, again,
They were so slow to do anything. Then they're just like,
oh yeah,
rip the Band-Aid.
Yeah, right.
Stop us, put a halt on this.
Yeah.
Rather than just like slow.
Yeah.
Just so for the listeners' benefit, I think it was summer of 2021, inflation was about 4.4%. So, fast forward to today, I think it's February. So January's inflation was 5.9%, right? From a point is Bank of Canada sees that as too high. I don't know why they didn't have a problem with 4.4 back in the summer of 2021 when their objective has always been 2%.
Mm-hmm.
So none of it makes any sense. All right. So yeah, carry on. Okay. So at least you did well doing fixed mortgages. What was causing the pain then?
Again, I think you just really too many projects going on at once, right? Just too many things, like too many projects going on at once is really.
How many? How many projects did you have?
I think at one point I had 3 or 4. Like that's just too many. Yeah, just too many projects. Like too much, too fast.
So 3 or 4 properties that all had different various stages of renovation and vacancy.
Yeah.
That. I've been at this for a long time. I've never had that much.
Yeah.
Because that makes me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, right. I can tell. You're a loss for words.
Yeah, I'm a loss for words. Like because I've never even thought of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, again, it like was just ego driven. Yeah. I just I can do this. Yeah. And I'm doing it. It's working out and it's fine. It's just I feel like I was just. I'm a glutton for punishment. I'm almost like my neighbor before he passed away goes, Ben, you're a glutton for punishment, aren't you? Because you're always just trying things just to see if you can do them. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I sort of am that guy. It doesn't make sense sometimes, but
like what? Like MMA? Like what?
No, just silly. I don't know. I'm like, and that's sort of where and that's where I get to a certain point in my life with a lot of things. It's like I do things just to see if I can do them, and then it's just like okay, I can do that, and then on to the next thing. So,
but you're sticking with this one.
Yeah, sticking with this one. Oh yeah, this one's here to stay.
So how are you feeling today? Has the portfolio stabilized?
Yeah, everything's working out well now. Everything's working. Everything's
tenanted.
Yeah, I've got a place right now that I just recently finished up. The nice thing about Sarnia is the price points are still very low, quite low, and the rents are pretty much comparable to the rest of the province. So I got a duplex right now. I got 2 units that are for rent. I'm asking $19 per unit, $1,900 per unit, and I'm getting lots of bites on it, right? So
right.
So I purchased that for $330. I've got about 175 into it, which is a substantial renovation for the size of the building, but it was a crack house before I got it, so it needed everything, and so I gave it everything. So
you really do, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that was like I said, it was a lot. It was again.
Versus I've been looking to buy turnkey. Yeah. I'm not a young guy like you, and not as ambitious. That's 19. So 19. What are these? 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom?
2 bedroom.
2 bedroom, $1,900 per unit.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's partly a function of the oil and gas industry is paying well.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing about Sarnia too, is like you got these high paying people. They're high paid blue collar workers. Yeah. That are making good money. So
yeah, they're making 6 figures.
Yeah, easy. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes multiple 6 or like 200,000. Like some people, I'm like crazy.
What keeps the prices down then?
Good question. I think it is. I think it is the refineries. I think Sarnia's
At the same time, you want to live near
it's
them?
just like, yeah, it's like that's what's keeping it down. Is I mean, but I've talked to a lot of investors that have come to Sarnia and did a project in Sarnia, and they're like, I don't even know if I want to sell this place. I think I might just keep it for myself, because they love, like, Sarnia's surrounded by water. You got Lake Huron, and then you got the St. Clair River right there. People get there and they just love it, and they think that even if they're in the middle of the city, they think they're close to the beach, and we're like, no, the beach is like way over there. It's like 15 minutes away. They're like, oh, that's close to us, close for us, right? So, and it's just when they get there, Sarnia is only 75,000 people, so it's a smaller city. It's still still a very small town feeling when you get there, for sure, which a lot of people love as well.
75,000?
Yeah, 75,000.
Sorry, I wrote down 7,500.
Yeah, no, not that.
That didn't sound right.
No.
That's like 2 high schools.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so you mentioned you hired a coach.
Yeah.
How did you, so you starting a property management business?
Yeah, so I'm actually launching a property management company in Sarnia, business in Sarnia. And so again, with me really having, being in the oil and gas industry, never really having, owning a business or running a business per se, I wanted to reach out to somebody that I knew was already in the industry that I was working in, already had the business structure in place, the processes and all that stuff, already in place in their business, right? So I actually reached out to someone in my network that I knew, again, doing my due diligence, that I knew had worked with this coach in the past, right? And when I spoke to that person, they just a long list of just beautiful stuff they had to say about Elizabeth, right? Right from just when they entered, when they started working with Elizabeth, they had mentioned that their business was in shambles. And so what Elizabeth, I love how she says that she'll take the plate of spaghetti and take one noodle and straighten it out at a time. Take, just one noodle at a time. Let's get that figured out, and then we'll go to the next noodle and get that figured out, right? So, and that's what Elizabeth had done for these other investors, right? And they said that before they worked with her, they were in shambles, but after they had figured out their noodles and got their noodles all straightened out, it was, they were off to the races. And then from that point there, they were looking to get into developments, and Elizabeth says, well, I can't help you with the developments, but I know this guy, this person here will be able to help you, will be able to coach you on developments and whatnot, right? So that's when, that's when I reached out to Elizabeth and got introduced to her and had my discovery call with her, and right away, like, just positive vibes. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed her personality and how joyful she was, and how, I could tell it was going to be a beautiful, again, it has to be a relationship. It was going to be a good relationship with her, because it felt so natural and organic.
So I have to ask, the $50,000 you spent on the other coaching program, would that be better spent with Elizabeth?
I think the biggest takeaway I'm getting, the one thing I do really like about Elizabeth is just simply having Zoom calls, just a weekly Zoom, just having that in person Zoom calls. We can share information by simply screen sharing our spreadsheets or whatever it is we're talking about. I think that, yeah, it could have, had I sourced out Elizabeth from the get-go, I think things would have maybe been a bit different, for sure. The outcome would have been a bit different. It would have been better, a little bit less. I think there just would have been a little bit more. I don't even know what word I'm looking for right now. Just a little more calm. I think Elizabeth. That's what I like about Elizabeth. Is she's calm. She's got a calm nature about her. Right. It's not just aggressive. Go 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 go. Push. It's just very calm, and let's make sure this all makes sense, and there's not this push to buy stuff, right? So
You felt this, the other coaching organization was just pushing by.
I think a lot of them, yeah, I think a lot of those group, that's the big, and I think a lot of it just, maybe it's, what ends up happening is, there's always that, keeping up with the Joneses or FOMO or whatever. So people get sort of anxious when other students are doing something and they're not, or whatever. Right. So I think that's where a lot of excitement gets generated in the group coaching programs, where, like with Elizabeth, I don't even know who other students are, because she's so focused on me, what I'm doing, and I'm focused on the information that she's given me. And it's just, that's it. We're just focusing so much on each other and making sure we get the best and most out of our coaching calls.
So I think it's fine to be in a group where people are like doing stuff, but I'll usually dig into it.
Yeah.
So if someone's doing well, I'll see if I can buy them lunch.
Yeah.
Dig into it a little bit.
Yeah.
Have them on the show. Dig into it a little bit. See if it makes sense.
Yeah.
So when you had like the wholesale deal, for example, like where the wholesaler told you just pay them $4,000, they'll leave.
Yeah.
You didn't get vacant possession.
No.
You had no one to bounce that off of. Like you had coaches around you.
Yeah. Again, that one, I think.
Because to me, that's what a coach is for.
Yeah, and I think
to be able to bounce stuff off of, to vet deals, to vet transactions, to vet people you're doing business with.
Right. Yeah. I had a coach at that time. It was, I think at that point there, I think, like I said, it was, maybe I'd gotten too far, I always analyze what went wrong. I always ask myself, what did I do wrong? What should I have done better? Maybe I didn't, maybe I should have bounced this deal off this coach. Right. And I didn't. And that's, I think it was just one of those things that I ignored the signs, and again, I'll only ever point the finger at myself, because at the end of it all, I was steering the ship on it. I was the one making the ultimate decision behind it. So
okay, so I am looking at my phone just because a friend of mine said something recently that I think it pertains to how do you say. Again, I never prepare for these things. So, for example, there's a good number of arguably con artists. Time will tell whether or not these folks end up in jail or not. I made the comment to my friend that a lot of the victims are actually very quiet. For example, some of these people are still posting on social media. Two recent people I can think of, again, both bankrupt. And then the comments I find that on their posts are generally quite supportive. I'm not seeing the victims say much, right? And so, I'm a bit surprised that I don't know how the victims feel, and they don't know what to say, and just like yourself, I often take responsibility.
Yeah.
But I've been conned a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
And so even though I took responsibility to never let that happen again, it's still on them that they're con artists.
Yeah. It's, I think, and I'm a big believer in karma, right? Like eventually it's going to come out in the wash, right? Eventually it's, it's going to, what goes around comes around. I believe that. I think like it's, you can only do so many things to people before it comes back on you, right? So that's where, like I said, it is what it is, and again, that was a pain point that I felt, and I'll avoid that pain point again. And anybody that calls me and asks me what I think about this or that, I'll be like, okay, well, let's just really dive deep in on the whole picture of the deal, like what red flags, what we got to ask, what red flags are being popped up, and what do you see that you like, and what do you see that you don't like. And as I mentioned before, if it's a really noisy deal, like if there's a lot of questions being asked or a lot of eyebrows being raised, it's probably not something you want to take on.
Yeah. It's just like a perfect con though, like a good. I don't know if I get in trouble for this. But a company called Paramount Equity, for example, the owner of the company can't be found. Two of the executives have been charged. They both declare bankruptcy. But the owner of the company, the main owner of the company, they can't find them.
Right.
Right? So will justice be served? Karma is a bitch.
Yeah.
Because that company employed a lot of the founder owner's family. His wife, I think he had like 3 son-in-laws that were there. His own son was working there. So yeah, karma's a bit of a bitch that they're all out of work and their name is Mud.
Yeah.
Now, funny about the name is Mud thing, but yeah, he probably will avoid jail because they can't find him.
Right.
So
Yeah.
but yeah, karma, yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure the victims would like to see him in jail.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So but yeah, my point is that white collar crime is difficult to prosecute. Right, because it's still the police at the end of the day. And I don't know cops, but when I think of cops, I think of people who wanted to fight bad guys.
Yeah.
Right. Catch criminals, catch bank robbers, whatnot.
Right.
Catching a white collar crime, that's really different.
Yeah.
and to understand white collar crime, you have to kind of be like from a background like us.
Yeah.
Like investors. That's probably not a lot of cops.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Right. So it's difficult, and I love cops. They have probably the most difficult job in the world.
Yeah.
But my point is, again, white collar crime, difficult to prosecute. Like only just recently were the owners of Fortress recently charged. That took forever. So yeah, justice is slow.
Yeah.
There may be no justice. And just to comment to listeners, if you are a victim, don't feel embarrassed.
Yeah.
There's lots of other people just like you.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not your fault.
Yeah.
Some of these, I've been conned.
Yeah.
Admittedly, I've been conned. And it's going to happen. It's going to keep happening.
Yeah.
Right. It's sad.
Yeah. And that's why you just, if it's questionable, just walk away.
That's the problem with a really good con.
Yeah.
Right. For anyone who doesn't believe me, just look up Paramount. Hope that doesn't get me sued. They're gone now, so I don't think anyone left to sue.
Yeah.
You're getting into property management.
Yes. Is that where that's where we were going with it? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
what did your neighbor say about you again?
So so that's where we went. That's how we got on the so that's the so we started. That's why I hired Elizabeth. It was because I'm starting this property management company in Sarnia. I wanted to make sure I had a good foundation. I wanted to make sure that when I launched this company, I want it to be legit. I want it to be right. I want it to be processes in place. I don't want to just say that I'm a property manager. Give me your property, and then figure it out as I go. I want to be like at 75-80% of knowledge before I dive into this, because when I generally do things, I like to do it the rightest way possible. Right. And I felt like, okay, hiring somebody that's already in the industry that I want to be in is the way to go, and that's what I'm doing with Elizabeth. And so that's why I hired her, was because I am launching this PM business in Sarnia. I've had multiple people already reach out to me. Begging me, pleading me, Ben, when are you launching? Let's go. I'm like, hold on, just working. I'm working the kinks out. I'm working a few things. I'm building that foundation because I want to be able to offer my clients a solid service, because that's what they're paying for, right? I want it to be, solid, because a lot of property management companies in Sarnia especially have a very bad rapport, a really bad rap, as being just bad in general, just not good at their jobs, right? So that's where I saw that there was a problem there that I could solve by doing this, and furthermore, creating an extra source of that, an active income, creating that active income that I feel most real estate investors need. Getting into this, I thought that I could quit my job and live off my portfolio. Well, to a certain extent, until the storm hits, right? And then you're left, questioning where the next, the next paycheck's going to come in, right? So that's where I'm like creating this active income for myself and my family, of course. That's number one. So really excited. I'm really excited about this because it is, it's the first time for me that I've taken a business idea and built it from the ground up. Like really, like I said, really building, really just literally building it from the ground up, from zero, from nothing. And again, just that's why I'm not doing this alone. I never will claim to do anything alone. I've got lots of support behind me. I got contractors behind me. I got already people that I work with in Sarnia, and again, creating those deep-rooted relationships with these people, so that way. And I've already told them, to listen, when I launched this PM business property management company in Sarnia, like, are you going to be with me on this? Like, are you going to be with me and stick with me through this, right? So, and they've all said, yeah, so that we love working for you already, so why would we not continue to want to work with you and just stay with you? Like, my contractor generally only works for me. I hired him a little bit over a year ago, and he just says, yep, you just keep the jobs in front of me, and he'll be happy, right? And so he's been happy, and we're still working on processes between the two of us. Again, that's just an evolving thing that we're going to continue to work on time after time. Every project's going to be different. We're going to learn something new at the end of every project. Sit down, talk about what could have been done differently, what could have been done better. So that way I can take that knowledge and have those processes in place already for when I take on clients.
Ben, we're way over time. Oh, sorry. Where can folks learn about your PM company?
So if you want to go to my Instagram, I'm going to just give you my normal Instagram is just Ben Bergen _REI. And there's a link there to my property management Instagram page as well. If you want to just go there, it's RSB _property _management Inc. So again, it's just easier to say Ben Bergen _REI.
Yeah. Some of the details, listeners will have it in the show notes.
Yeah.
Ben, thanks so much for being so open and sharing. I guess the nuggets I take away is don't invest with ego.
Mm-hmm.
Cover all your bases.
Yeah.
And the buying with the investing with the ego thing, like that led a lot of people to ruin.
Yeah.
We've had several guests come on the show and share the same thing.
Yeah.
Shout out Jared Hope. He had over 100 properties, largely on ego. Russell Westcott shared, bought 100 properties. A lot of them did not work out.
Right.
So so this is just the cycle repeating itself.
Yeah. It's humbling. It's definitely humbling for sure. Right.
Yeah. So, any final thoughts you want to share?
I mean, I guess if anybody ever wants to reach out and just chat to me, you got my Instagram handle there. Definitely DM me, and we can talk about whatever struggles you're going through. I've good chance I felt the same pain. It is just part of growing, and that's the way I look at it is. It's just, I think you're going to see a different caliber of real estate investor come out on the other side of all this storm. Mm-hmm. You're going to see some really good real estate investors, really strong real estate investors. But if anybody wants to reach out, talk to me about just their pain points and what they're struggling with, please do. I can definitely point you to the people that could help you if I can't. So.
Awesome. Thanks so much for doing this, Ben.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. If you want to learn how to invest in real estate from scratch, my team teaches beginners how to use the #1 investment strategy that I personally use in a virtual free training class every month. Go to investortraining.ca/YouTube to register for our next class. The link is also in the description as well. I publish at least 2 to 3 videos a week here, so subscribe if you want to keep learning from seasoned investors like myself and my guests. And if you're just starting out, feel free to ask questions and comment below, and I do the best to answer each of those comments and questions myself. Again, if you're ready to learn the nitty-gritty about real estate investing from a professional investor, register for our next virtual class. That's at investortraining.ca/YouTube. Thanks again for watching. See you in the next video.